Today for uranium, it looks like the UEX and UEC deal has finally possibly closed. We will see by the end of the day. So there is a new amendment to this. We're going to go over exactly what that means for this deal and who is likely to get it. We'll also go into some other mergers and acquisitions, something that I've been following for a long time. And it's another signal that the uranium bull market is starting, as well as Bill Gates. They raised $750 million for their Terrapower for these new plants. I'm going to explain what that means for nuclear. And this is demand that's not even accounted for yet. So thank you guys last time for getting the video close to 1,000 likes. Let's get this one to 1,000. We can do it. Now, let me know below your like number and what companies you would like to see merge next. One of the possibilities I think is, Encore Energy, Peninsula Energy, companies in the US, especially UR Energy, these companies, and Field possibly. Make sure you put your like number as well. And I'm going to read through every single one of those. So the first thing is UEC, there was an amendment to the offer. UEX shareholders will get 0.09 UEC shares. Now the UEX shares, that's 0.497 Canadian as of right now. Now they also amended that if the deal is somehow broken, UEC will get $9 million in addition. Okay. Now they're voting today and 66 2/3 needed to vote, the shareholders, for this. Now, if there is no shareholders voting, then the votes automatically go with what the board's decision was. And the board decided that they're going with UEC. And this was even after Denison put in an offer last night, another offer. Now, UEC matched the offer that Denison had before, which was a very smart deal in my opinion. You shouldn't go too high. And UEX is reporting that the meeting indicated that over 93% of the votes cast on Special Revolution approving the UEC arrangement have been voted in favor of the UEC agreement. So no further action is required by UEX shareholders who have already voted if there is no change to your vote. So the board saw the Denison deal, they didn't go with it, and they did amend it in favor of UEC. They voted 93%, and they said 66 2/3 needed to vote, as we said earlier, 66 2/3 by the UEX security holders. So it's looking like it's passed. Now, I did a poll here, and today there's not a lot of people talking about uranium. 69% of the people voted yes for UEC. And from what it reads, it doesn't seem like Denison can come back with an offer, but you never know in this market what could happen. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, just a little good news before we go into some other things. It is the almost 1-year anniversary. Will be August 17th, so a couple days away. And Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, the game changer that really changed and sparked this uranium bull market, really sooner than a lot of people thought. Okay, 57 million pounds they held. That's 64,000 of those drums you've seen that hold U3O8. And that's more than the entire uranium demand for the US combined per year. And they also broke a record September 2021, the largest spot volume in uranium transactions since 1996. That was 14.5 million pounds. And you got to believe they're going to do that again. They're going to have a premium eventually, and they are going to be buying up a lot of uranium. And what's great about Sprott is they're not going to be selling that uranium back into the market, okay? Bill Gates Terrapower raises $750 million. This is from Bloomberg for cheaper nuclear. Bill Gates backed Terrapower raised $750 million to advance efforts to develop small-scale nuclear reactors, including a major investment from South Korean SK Group. SK will invest $250 million to add stake in the technology developer, which aims to commercialize smaller and cheaper designs than conventional nuclear plants. The company said on Monday in a separate statement, nuclear will become a vital part of our energy transition. And remember, South Korea is also really pushing nuclear as well now. So the holder of the company said in an interview, in terms of safety, economic viability, and the applicability of the technology, Terrapower's smaller reactors stand out the most to us. Now, remember how I told you that SMR and these new small modular reactors, there's going to be a lot of competition? Well, big billionaires are coming in. It's also not just Bill Gates, but it's also Jeff Bezos, and you got UK billionaires in there as well, Richard Branson. They will use the proceeds from this funding round to continue development of their advanced nuclear technology and on work to use nuclear isotopes to develop new cancer drugs, the company said in the statement. So this is not just for nuclear power, but it is showing that uranium, it's showing that the overall sector is needed. And remember what I said in the last video, that these coal plants, the record 14 gigawatts, 14 and a half closing in the US, majority of that 12 and a half gigawatts is 85% coal. And coal plants can now be used to transition. And they said this in here as well. And Bill Gates and Terrapower can turn those coal plants that already have the workers and everything into nuclear power plants. This is demand that was not added for the uranium sector. So this will be a big part of the US nuclear energy renaissance. And as I said before, there are lots of SMRs out there. 70 SMRs are under development according to the IAEA. And based on market research, SK expects smaller reactors will account for more than half of the global nuclear fleet by 2050. And remember, a lot of these need HALEU. That's why Centrus Energy, LEU, I said it was probably one of the most undervalued stocks I've ever seen. Almost 300 million in revenue, and the stock, market cap was below that. It was insane. But that's where we're at in this uranium market. We're just getting started. The next thing, Uravan announces the purchase of uranium claim in Lisbon Valley. So this company, last year, I talked to the CEO, I called him. Now they're wanting to, this is in the US, in Utah, I believe, 107 claims. Now this CEO, I'm gonna give you a little background, a little story here. So I called this CEO, the uranium bull market starting. I've been tracking this company for a while. Its market cap was basically nothing. And I talked to the CEO and I told him that, I would be interested in buying out the entire company with my buddy. And my buddy, he was, very onto the deal. He would have been able to buy it out. And we were going to do this. And the CEO instantly went bearish. And he is a geologist. And he was saying that he believed that nuclear wasn't going to be needed in the future. And unfortunately, he had went through, a 10-year bear market. And he's a geologist, really respected geologist there in the Athabasca Basin. So I just told him, I was like, I think you're wrong. I think the uranium bull market is starting. There's going to be all this demand, 700 million pounds. And he just seemed very bearish. So I couldn't change the CEO's mind. Well, I don't have my shares anymore in the company, but Lewis, I think my buddy Lewis Morgan owns majority of the company still and just bought shares on the open market. They're going to use I think it's 800,000 shares to purchase these assets. And this is in the US. Maybe it was me talking to him, and he did more research, because I've never really seen a uranium CEO so bearish on uranium almost instantly. But this is kind of showing where we're at in this uranium bull market, okay? The claim consists of two groups, and these claims, 107 claims, 2,211 acres, and this is Lisbon Valley District in southeastern Utah. Now, there was a lot of uranium production in the US, and with ISR, I would actually say a lot of these desert regions are very similar to Kazakhstan and can produce pretty low uranium costs. And if the US gets back into production like it was doing in the 60s and 70s, 30, 40 million pounds a year, even a small, tiny market cap company could get very big, okay? And I think that companies like this will probably be targets for M&As, in the near term. We're also talking about Anfield. I've been talking about them with the, for a couple years. They've got the mill, they've got, these assets, and then UEC came in and they've got like 76 something million shares. And, all these assets in the US that were just pretty much never really looked upon, they've been sitting in a file cabinet in majority of these uranium companies' offices that haven't been touched since like the 80s, maybe even the 70s in some of them, depending on how old the companies are, that they inherited from buying out other companies. And I've seen pictures of these things, and there are so many assets out there, and they're just appearing out of nowhere, right? And people forget, 2 years ago would have said the US that these assets, they'll never get up and all these things. And most people don't even know about these. So not specifically for this company. I'm not saying this company is going to be good. I'm not saying anything about that. I liked their assets in the Athabasca Basin that they were getting rid of, unfortunately, after this. But after talking to the CEO, it looks like maybe his mind has changed. And this could possibly, signal that the uranium bull market is getting closer to its next leg up. Now, the Lisbon mine that was owned by Rio between 72 and 88 produced 22 million pounds of U3O8. So this is like Kazakhstan numbers. This is one mine. Imagine when all these mines get up in the US. They're going to want this US production, right? But there are thousands of assets out there in the US, and this is why there's a nuclear renaissance in the US. So I'm going to keep my eye on that. Now, uranium stocks dropped pretty hard today, but they dropped with oil. So they are yoked to oil. But if we're looking at the charts, they are still right there in the cup and handle, right? Making that handle. This is actually where it needed to be textbook, a little bit lower, sideways. Now UEC, we'll see how that one does. It's, like I said, usually the leader, but it wasn't just UEC because of this. Denison's around the same 4% down. Energy Fuels about 3%. And then, when you see stocks like, the biggest uranium stocks, Cameco is down almost 2% as well. They are really yoked to oil, because oil today was actually down over 5% early in the morning. So it has recovered some. Now, this was because of talks with economy in China and people thinking the demand, but that has nothing to do really with uranium. Unfortunately, uranium is so small that it gets pulled down in the sector. Now, the NASDAQ was also red at that time, but it has improved a little bit. It's almost up 1%. So, with uranium, we're in this summertime. As I've said many times, it's usually sideways, it's usually flat. And with the charts all looking pretty much the same here. I mean, look at that. They're literally creating that handle perfectly, the cup and handle, right? A lot of these are very similar. Now, if they don't have as much volume, they're not going to show up as much, but Energy Fuels, Cameco, UEC, very similar, but they're making the handle. So I'm fine with that. So I'm going to look to probably be day and swing trading when that volume comes in. I do hold some shares in some companies, and you want access to that, there's a link in the description below. Now on here, you can see this is the overall market, and energy minerals just got trashed today. So it pulled down uranium. Now remember, big funds also invest in uranium. So if they see all the sectors and energy going down, they might be selling some. So you never know. But there's also a lot of day and swing traders in there. And I know people in my Discord have been swing and day trading, doing really well. So if you want access to that, you want access to what I'm buying and selling, there's a link in the description below. And it's about to heat up really quickly. The summer's almost going to be over and we're going into fall. And let me know below, what's your like number and what mergers would you like to see with uranium and uranium companies? And it doesn't have to be a uranium company. It could be a gold and silver company switching over. So let me know in the link description below. And if you like these videos, I'll keep making them, but we need to get this video to 1,000 likes. And until next time.